I don't want anyone to be harmed. I don't wish that the materials are harmed or the environment. But other than those things, I'm really observing to see what the child is showing me. And then you get a lot of information around what to prepare and all of that. I learned this from my mentor way back. Whenever I'm questioning what to do, step back and sit down and observe.
And Maria Montessori speaks about observation. It's necessary for us to be patient and wait and observe the child and wait for the right moment before we begin teaching. So, in terms of guiding. So how do you decide when it's the right moment to join these little ones and when it's time for us to step back?
That's a wonderful question. Well, the first thing I'll say is around observation. We're observing all the time. It's natural. I'm observing you, you're observing me. But there's a preparation to observe that is part of observation. I don't hear about that a lot, but it's very important and it speaks to your question. So coming in, whatever way it is for us, that we might come into, I think of it as the seat of the observer, to ground and to breathe and to be as present as we can. And I work with my families, the adults, about observation. They practice this at Ananda and they practice this at home. Just taking a few deep breaths, closing your eyes for a moment, and then opening your eyes. What you saw before you closed your eyes is often very different from when you open your eyes of the child. And really, it begins within us. So something shifts within us. That would be the first thing that I always say about observation. You've talked often about this. I feel when we are observing a child or children, that our intention is to not interrupt them, to not disturb. So anything that I might do in being with another person, if it's going to disturb them, that is a clue to me that it's not a time to come in. So they could be doing something wrong. Of what is right and wrong? Who knows that? The child knows that. And we can wait and we can see that. So I always wait. If I do come in, if a child is needing a little guidance, the way that anyone moves, I feel is very important. To not come from behind to a child, to come not straight on to a child, to come to the side always, and to kneel down. And what the way that I experience guidance is that I'm merging in for a moment and offering some guidance, and then I move myself out. It's kind of like a dance, coming in and coming out. Whether it could be guidance around someone is working with the material, spooning, or some mathematical material, and anything at all, or it could be social. Something that is being expressed between children and they're learning. I want to come in to not disturb, but to offer guidance. And what I train teachers to is to sit to the floor. If you're outside, sit to the ground. Do that, and that will help you quite a bit. So you're not clues to me if I'm ever standing over a child, if I am over top at all, that is my stuff. To me, at Ananda, with the adults there, when there's activation in us, maybe our own being parented, rising up, that's a clue to me that everything's working well. Because that has to happen, I feel. I don't want anyone to be harmed. I don't wish that the materials are harmed or the environment. But other than those things, I'm really observing to see what the child is showing me. And then you get a lot of information around what to prepare and all of that. I learned this from my mentor way back. Whenever I'm questioning what to do, step back and sit down and observe.
It's especially that stepping back and the growth that we all go through, the way we were parented. And often I remember as a new guide or a new administrator, I wanted to hurry that process. It's so organic. It takes time, awareness, and we get there eventually. And stepping back now and closing my eyes, it makes a profound difference if I pause or step back instead of just intervening for my own thoughts. So this was really, really clear and beautiful to follow. And Maria Montessori speaks about, the child can develop fully by means of experience in his environment, right? And we call this work. So children are working in this environment. So when they're working on their activity, what are some of the ways we know that now we're being invited to be part of the child's time, the space where we could give maybe a new lesson or interact? And I'm sure there is body language or there's something that we have to be aware of. Could you speak to that?
Mm-hmm. Well, I would begin by coming back to that sensing within us. I work even in pregnancy, I'm having connection with the child. So if I'm touching the woman's belly and I always silently ask permission even to the child to do that, then my hand is there and often will feel a part come up and touch me or maybe kick me, those kinds of things. We can silently ask for that permission. With infants, really with any children, and really with any adults, I am waiting for their eyes to turn to me. That is like an invitation, and it's also them coming out of their experience. So I've been in my experience, and then with infants, I feel it as like, oh, hello, I see you. And then I may come down to their level and just move slowly over and look into their eyes and be with them. And it could just be in silence. But the eyes meaning mine, because if I come in, it's very startling for us, even if someone comes and we don't see them. It can be scary. For the young child, it's especially so because there are no filters in that early life of the unconscious mind, and they're extremely sensitive. So I want to give great patience and have trust and faith and wait for those eyes to look upon me. Once, what I've noticed is because I have children for quite a few years, they stay. And when I had a school up through 8th grade, I had some children for 10 years and knew them really well. You get to know the children. That's one aspect of Montessori that I so treasure, is how deeply, but it begins here again in knowing ourselves and having the willingness even to be seen by the child. If we have the willingness to be seen by the child, that is also the invitation within us. Then as the children, the toddler age, that age, they come to us. They'll come to us. So I always say to the adults, let the child come to you. See what happens when you let the child, because it could be any child at Ananda, because like tomorrow I'll have 14 children ages 3 to 6, and I may have 10 adults there. So the children are very comfortable around all of the adults. They may go to anyone if they want, if they are in need of something. And then I'm observing everything. And if I notice that a child may be looking for something or it's not out in the environment, then I will come and address that. but the child coming to us is another part of it that I feel many times in myself, in my learning, I would jump to, well, I think I know what somebody wants, so I'll get there first. And it's very different when we wait for the child. We don't have to wait, but just that allowance of freedom that they come to us.